Weymouth Port. I started taking photographs in 1948 of the colliery and the people that worked there. At that time, there were three shafts. The A shaft rode men and was an upcast shaft. The B shaft was not in use, but was a downcast shaft. The C shaft was both upcast and downcast, divided down the centre with the bradders. Right, well, this is the A pit on the right. You see the old ventilation chimneys for when they used to have furnaces down at pit bottom instead of fans. Winding engine was built in 1838, still in use 110 years later. Wasn't looking in the best of condition, but after that length of time, what could you expect? Right, now the B pit winder was built in 1868 and was light years in front of the A pit winder in engineering, the quality of its engineering. It was in such good condition it should have been preserved. The C pit was served by two winders, east and west side, each of them twin cylinder horizontal steam engines, and they were built in 1937. The size of the drum and the engine house can be gauged from this picture. The engine houses were built like cathedrals, and they had their own people that kept the place tidy, the bearings greased, and generally looked after the winding engine. When the pit started modernising in the early 50s, the first to be modernised was the A pit. It was built directly over the shaft and took some time, modern construction, gradually going up and finished as quite an impressive tower. It was, as you can see, it was built over the original ventilation chimneys for the shaft, and it was fitted with a 500 horsepower multi-rope friction winder. One of the first in the country, I think. The next part of the reconstruction was a C pit where a tower was to be built, and it was to be built again directly over the shaft. The steelwork is going up here, and all this was done without interrupting coal drawing. Progress is being made, getting taller and taller. Framework nearly right to the top. Starting to fill in the sides a little bit. And now they're doing the framing. While all this was taking place on the surface, tremendous changes were taking place underground with the introduction of shearers, trepanners, ploughs, road headers, conveyors instead of rope haulage, diesel locos and electric locos. Once the framing was completed, then all of the equipment had to be lifted in. From ground level, all of the equipment had to be lifted into the tower. This is the main drum shaft being lifted right from ground level, halfway up, and then being brought into the engine house proper. Quite a major job, assembling all of this equipment. Then put into position. Half of the motor can be seen in position now. And now you can see the thing being assembled. The motor was a 2000 horsepower motor, and the system was what was known as a Ward-Leonard system. Because that was all new to us, we had a crash course at Sunderland Tech to learn all about it, and I don't know who drew up the syllabus, but we all learned gun turret control and battleships. We never got around to putting gun turret in the tower. This shows the completed setup with the braking system, which was quite complicated. Every so often we had to do a retardation test to ensure that the retardation rates weren't too severe, otherwise the ropes could have slipped over the drum and the cage could have finished up in the arresters. So that was a long job on Sundays, nearly up to 12 hours. At the banking out position, a control room was built where the operator had full view and control of the tubs going into the cage, as well as control of the winder. Here he's seen with his controls, and apart from this position there was also a control position in the tower itself. The next online was the D pit. A complete sinking engine was brought, complete with its headgear, from South Africa and built to sink the D pit shaft. The shaft had to be taken down through very wet strata, and because of that there was a freezing plant set up, and the first, I think it was about 300 feet of strata was frozen so it could be drilled, fired and got out. This has shown a couple of blokes at the pit bottom manhandling the skip. General view of the shaft as it was being sunk. It went down to the 1850 level, the busty level, and then they had to start building the tower, concrete tower. And this is what the pit looked like when the final tower, the D pit, was completed. So we now have 3 towers, the A pit on the left drawing men, C pit in the centre which drew coal and men, D pit on the right which only drew coal in 20-ton skips. Quite a commanding view from the D pit. This is Joe Clavering, the manager, overlooking his domain. Actually, that is now the site of the new football ground, the Stadium of Light. Looking the other way, you can look straight down onto the ships being loaded with the coal from the colliery. As an incentive to the men to show their family what a pit looked like, a mock setup was arranged outside the B pit boilers, where we had what was supposedly a long wall with the equipment involved in it. These are the gate end boxes showing the chocks and the end of the conveyor, plus the shearer. Very popular with the kids. They loved come to visit this. Every year, Durham Miners Gala Day, all of the lodges went there. Well, the city was closed to traffic, no traffic allowed in at all. 1969 was a very special year. It was centenary of the formation of the Durham Miners Association. So while they always got big crowds, that year they were really big crowds. No traffic in the town. The only way into the town was Shanks's pony. And now the day is over, and the miners are leaving the big meeting. Not only is the day over, but the Durham miners are finished. Durham Miners coalfield is gone. The Weymouth Colliery is gone. And in its place is the Stadium of Light, now the home of Sunderland Football Club.
It's totally free to subscribe to our channel, and we'll let you know when there's a new video to watch. The subscribe button is below the video, next to the like, share and comment icons. The link to our Facebook site is in the top comment right next to our link to explore the Sunderland Antiquarians website.